Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, John.
Hey,
Welcome,
Marty.
welcome to the Intentional Living Podcast. Marty Keller here in Sacramento, California, and John Donovan in Oceanside. We've been doing this podcast together for 5 years now as we examine the principles of the intentional living practice, something you developed, John, out of your work in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics, the work that you've done in jails and recovery, drug and alcohol abuse, recovery counseling, all those good things in that great world of let's learn to be living the lives of our intentional choice. And so
Right.
in this podcast, in the Intentional Living Podcast, we examine and uncover unconscious obstacles to living that life that we want, to living an intentional life, as we like to say. And we learn to befriend them. We learn to make those obstacles, we transform those obstacles into allies and
hmm
help create a sense of love and peace inside of us. And how do we do this? Well, we start by looking at patterns of behaviors that I say I don't want and nonetheless continue to manifest. Like, for example, have you ever hurt someone you loved and later regretted it and then hurt them again, often in the exact same way? Or have you ever realized you were in the middle of an argument and you recognized that you were on the wrong side of the argument and you continue to do it anyway to try to prove your point? Or have you ever known you
hmm
were about to do or say something that you knew you would regret and you went ahead and did it anyway? You found yourself unwilling to stop, unable to stop. These are the kinds of behaviors that we talk about that feel like they're compelling us to do things against our mind's conscious choice. And that is with the focus and the matter of our intentional living podcast here. And John, as you know, we have been taking a look at a series of principles that underlie this practice. The
hmm
practice itself is something that we call the accountability tree, and we have a number of podcasts that look at exactly how the accountability tree works, and we invite people to be take a look at those things. Though, if you want to know more, today we're going to focus on another one of our principles, and but before we take a look at that, just a quick check-in with you. Is there anything else that you want to say about, what the heck we're doing here in the Intentional Living Podcast?
Um, Offering information that bears repeating because of the nature of what we're talking about is something I found outside of the frame of reference I had when I started my recovery. When I started my recovery, I could accept or hear or process things that I was familiar with, and I call that my frame of reference or point of reference. When I started getting into recovery, people were doing something that didn't fit that frame. They were. I remember going early to an AA meeting, Adult Children of Alcoholics, and I would leave as soon as I could. And this one meeting, I went outside. That's when I was smoking and I was having my cigarette. But I looked at the people inside and they were all happy and hugging each other and talking. And I'm wondering, what in the hell are they doing? This is serious. What about me? I don't understand. It just blew my mind. And there was something in that that was outside of my frame of reference that was the word coming to me as alluring or attractive, or I had a sense, I had enough something to keep going back, even though I didn't understand what they were doing. And that understanding came after repetitive times, after doing it over and over and over, which made my frame of reference every time I went to a meeting was just a little bit bigger until when I heard somebody say something I heard a year ago, I go, oh, how come you haven't heard that? Like they never said it before. And yet they've been repeating it. So that there's I had the focus to get whatever it is they had, even though I didn't know what it was. And in the repetition, I was able, after a while, to come to a different sense about it, or see the value in it, or see that I couldn't see through whatever lens I was looking. My lens was unresolved complex post-traumatic stress, or what I knew to say back then was chronic organ dysfunction, unhealed childhood trauma. Even though I didn't really understand what that was either, I just kept coming back.
That's a great jumping off point for today's conversation, because we have this series of principles that some people don't get when they first hear them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and in fact, some people want to argue or disagree, which is wonderful. And you and I started this project about a year ago with the very first principle. I'm going to put them up on the share screen so that people and yourself can see what the heck we're talking about. And we started with the one that's the very top, which is, these are not listed in order of importance or validation. They're listed in order we thought them. And the very first one, and we referenced this a little bit at the end of last week's podcast, I'm always getting what I want. And I cannot not manifest. It's never about the other person. The issue is not the issue. People treat me the way I want them to. So each one of these principles just illuminates what John just said, and how we can use them to expand that frame of reference to learn more, not just about the world, but about ourselves. How does our process of creating the lives that we want actually happen? And so we've gone through each one of these. There's a podcast on each one of them. They're all available on the Intentional Living channel, the Intentional Living YouTube channel. And last week, we keep going down, Marty. We went to John, you and I talked about this one, No is a complete sentence. And today we're read. This is a fairly recent one. I think you came up with this one about a month ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, Saying I'm sorry is asking permission to do it again. Saying I am sorry is asking permission to do it again. What the heck does this mean to you, John?
Yeah, see that there's no alignment in those two different things there. Um, when I grew up, saying you're sorry was almost mandated, and it became a deflection tool of getting through, getting over, getting around, stopping whatever was going on. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I said I was sorry, and that should end the conversation, which in my family of origin dysfunction childhood trauma was to stay safe, which means any conversation is manipulative. And this is not stuff that I knew, it was subconscious. So I had the habit of doing something and then thinking that if I say I'm sorry, it would either be okay, or we could go on and not harp on it. And I was in a group and this came up, and somebody in the group, that person would just walk in the room and go, oh, I'm sorry, before anything happened. Oh, I'm sorry. And it just dawned on me that every time I said I was sorry, and it happened again, it's in those statements, have you ever hurt somebody you loved, regretted it? Oh, I'm sorry. And then did it again. So the I'm sorry was just like a placeholder to give me enough time to do it again. And I'm not saying any of this is conscious. Um, and somebody said one time, hearing me say I'm sorry, and them saying back to me, "You're not. There's nothing sorry about you, John," which was one of those Zen koans. I didn't know what to do with that. Um, and there's a reference to low self-esteem, or and it didn't work. And the people I was saying it to got tired of hearing it. And John, you said you're sorry before. I see no change. Well, oh, I'm sorry for that. It's like, I'm sorry. And saying I'm sorry is asking permission to do it again. On a subconscious level, I'm sorry, there's no accountability in it. And coming from where I came from, that wasn't even in my frame of reference to be accountable, because you look up accountable in the dictionary and it says punishable, person held liable, accountable. And the way I use it now is my ability to account for the behavior. If I hurt somebody, regret it, and I do it again, there's something I'm not learning. So in the accountability, I can experience the separation or the hurt or the pain or the exclusion. I can see what that feels like. And an example of that, if somebody was talking to me and I just ignored them and walked away, and they say, "What are you doing?" Oh, I'm sorry. No, I want to be accountable for ignoring whatever was going on without an excuse, just saying the truth. I was ignoring. That was my choice to ignore. And then something shifted, and which means now I'm connected to that person. Another way, another way I did this is if I were watching TV, I knew that I had we call it selective hearing. I'm watching TV. It's the Raiders, fourth down, 2 yards to go, 3 seconds, and the Raiders got to make the touchdown. And then somebody says, "Hey, John, take out the garbage." Unessential information. I am focused on this. I don't even hear that. It could be just background noise. And that capacity to focus on something and see other things as non-essential is built into us as human beings, so we can focus. Before, whatever happened afterwards, or screaming, yelling during, I would say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then it would happen again. Now, if I'm focused on something and I hear somebody that is, well, I won't say important to me, anybody, depending on the relationship, I actually stop and just start looking at them, because I know this mechanism, selective hearing and capacity to focus, is in play. So instead of saying I'm sorry, or thinking, "Oh, she's a nagger," or whatever the thing I used to do, because my intent is to create a loving long-term relationship. And this action of refocusing onto her or him, it could be my grandson, builds a relationship, which I didn't know before. And I can't remember the last time I said I was sorry on purpose. That I can't remember, because I choose not to. I'm accountable. If something happens where I'm dismissive or redefining somebody's reality, or find myself being sarcastic or demeaning, I own it. I just own it. That was demeaning. And in that, I find these infraction moments or unclear moments in communication further and further apart, to where there's, for periods, long periods of time, they're non-existent, because I'm conscious of my environment and what my priority is. Back then, it was the Raiders. They got to win the game. Now it's my relationship with my two children and my grandson. And I watch my grandson, he gets screen time. And when he's watching that screen, I could say all kinds of stuff. And he goes, he either not say anything, because and I know he's got that selective thing going on. So if I want to break through that, I go, get in his vicinity, move around, say something funny, do something, and don't blame him for having selective hearing. It's just the way we're built. and engaging him, which teaches him about that also.
There's first of all, thank you for that. As always, there's a lot of stuff here. And
Yeah.
there's a couple things I want to bring up um, in following what you just shared. And one of them is, you know, it really is one of those phrases that we've said so many times that we actually have selective hearing of our own speaking.
Yeah.
And to say I'm sorry is because ever since you raised this as a principle, I've noticed my I'm sorrying, and it's just automatic.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to do it. Sorry. Um, so let's just first of all let's own the fact that we have an automatic speech pattern for
Mhm.
various uh, social situations, usually involving relationship. Could be with a complete stranger, somebody at the supermarket you bumped into. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
All the way up to your kids, your parents, your partner, um, colleagues, work colleagues, or whatever. And so,
Hmm.
for those of you who are watching and listening to this, I'm going to start by acknowledging this one ain't easy. If we want to change it, we don't have to change it. That's the
No.
beauty. That's the beauty of this work. We get to choose whatever we want with respect to that. But there's some value to the insight here. So I just want to start by saying that's what this is one of those. We could even call it like a speech tick that
Yeah.
just kind of happens.
Hmm.
And also, I want to say is this is not the first time that you raised this. I remember you raised this way back when you were facilitating our men's group 10, 12, 13 years ago. And you raised it from a slightly different perspective. We didn't state the principle the way that we're using it now, but in those days, my memory is that you were talking about accountability. I'm I'm choosing to be accountable to you for my behavior.
Correct.
And I think this came out of the Man Alive work and some of the
Yes.
language formulas that the people who started that process used. And I remember, I think you challenged us to basically learn a way to say, I'm sorry without using the word sorry, or to be
Correct.
accountable, or to create recognition. I did something, I own that. And so I just want to say this is actually we haven't talked about this in our podcast, but this is something that you raised a long time ago.
Yeah.
So with that, so now that we're past those two things, I also want to just focus on the word. So the word sorry has two different uses, and you referenced one of them, which is like a sorry in sort of like a sad state. You're a
Yeah.
sorry excuse for a man or that kind of thing.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's not really the way we mean it when we say I'm sorry. When we say I'm sorry, we're actually using the adjective form of the word sorrow. I have sorrow is really what we mean when we say I'm sorry, although we don't have sorrow. We
No.
almost never
Yeah.
actually are experiencing sorrow. It's
Because
almost now
sorrow is a body sensation.
right.
It's a
And if
feeling
we,
time.
but it gets to what you were saying. So if I am actually having an experience of the impact of my behavior or what I said to you, I'm going to feel that as authentic sorrow.
Correct.
So I'm sorry is part of the many ways that we have learned to avoid feeling and
Yep.
to try to get out of avoid to get out of feeling something authentic and genuine. Like
Correct.
shame. Like I'm ashamed I did that to you. I'm feeling
Yeah.
shame. So I just wanted to point out that this really comes from the word sorrow, and that we almost never have sorrow when we say I'm
Correct.
sorry.
Right.
So what we're so those are just three of the observations I wanted to throw out. Um, and now it comes down to the question. Well, there's two things. Number one, would you be willing to elaborate a little bit on the second part of the principle that says it's giving me permission to do it again. How
It goes
does
back to
how does
it goes
that
back
follow
to
from I'm sorry?
it goes back to we're always getting what we want, or there may be another one that's pertinent. Well, a lot of them probably that are pertinent to this. It's a coping skill to not resolve the issue. I remember coming to the awareness that every relationship I had, the first argument I had with that person, generally speaking, was the same argument was the last argument I had when the door hit me in the ass. There was never any resolution. And the resolution comes in form of connection, which necessarily means I have to sense something in myself, a feeling tone, a sense of self. Or I remember experiencing hurt, actually feeling, not just saying, oh, that hurt me, not just saying it, but actually experiencing it. I'm plugging in my, there you go. And when I felt this pain, this actual physical, emotional, physical hurt, I would say disappointment or separation, it dawned on me, oh, that's what people meant when they said that hurt. I had no understanding of what that meant. I didn't know what they were talking about. That hurt. What do you mean that hurt? You asked me to tell you how to do this. I told you, and now you tell me you're hurt. I don't understand what you're doing. Until I actually had the experience, the visceral experience of being hurt.
Right.
And as a man growing up in this society, as an adult man, it was not okay for me to express hurt because that was weak. And I was not supposed to be weak or in my idea emotional or connected to myself in any way. My goal as a man was just fix it, hit it, or leave it. And that were my options. And you couldn't do that being all slobbery and all emotional and all kinds of feeling stuff. I remember going to a therapist and getting in there and talking about what I was looking for. She goes, well, how are you feeling? And my thought was, what the hell does that got to do with anything? What are you doing? What do you mean? What am I feeling? I, I need you to give me some. Tell me what to do. It just boggled my mind. Out of that had nothing to do with. In fact, that's what I was trying to get away from. Is like fix this thing. Just tell me how to fix it. I'll fix it. So, and now I understand that it wasn't broken because I was getting what I wanted from this person, even though I didn't know it was a subconscious need to be rejected, which is another whole podcast. Um, and that in my feeling body uh, enabled me to move into those things that I thought were kind of ethereal, like spontaneity, genuineness, authenticity, which were amazing once I understood what it was. Um, and I got that from feeling, saying, I'm sorry, let's move on. It's just another way of brushing it aside instead of staying in the trench with the other person.
So it's really in this principle, it's when it's used as an avoidance of the actual truth.
Correct.
So I remember the first time after we had that conversation in the men's group about the principle here and getting having done something to a friend, probably said something sarcastic or diminished something somebody said or said, oh, that can't be that important. That kind of behavior. And then I looked at
Hmm.
I saw the look on her face, and I realized that that I was out of integrity with who I really want to be.
Correct.
And um and so and I remember in the moment, so because no blame, no judgment was part of what you were teaching me. It's like, okay, can I just own what I just did without making myself a bad person?
Correct.
It's just so you said in last week's podcast, it's a behavior. I'm not my behavior. So
No.
can I own the behavior and still uh be willing to see myself as having value as a human being?
Yes.
So I remember saying, you know what? I did that and I'm ashamed. And I intend to treat you with respect and kindness and because you're my friend. And
Yeah.
I kept wanting to say I'm sorry. I could feel it wanting to form on my lips and I struggled, but I noticed the look on her face was like relief.
Yes.
She felt relief because she didn't have to be angry at me.
Correct.
And we could be back in some level of congenial connection with one another.
Hmm.
And then I remember thinking, um, boy, she's going to hold this against me. And of course, she forgot about it
Oh yeah.
because I had come clean. And this is related, I believe, John, to the process that the 12 steps asks us in when we talk about making amends.
Yeah.
Is this not related to what that process means when we say I'm going to make amends? Because that's what I felt I
Right.
was doing, making amends to her by telling the truth
Mhm.
and withdrawing any implication that she was wrong in any way.
Correct. Yeah. It's very close. Very close. So, um, yeah.
So I just
Um,
particularly for the newcomer, this is another example of a principle that can challenge us. And this one is particularly challenging for me just because of the 70 odd years of habit I've had in using the phrase "I'm sorry." And for a significant number of times that I've used that phrase "I'm sorry," I did it to get out of responsibility, to get out of self accountability, to brush off or to minimize the behavior that I had um, just perpetrated. And I'm talking about when I say that to somebody close, not talking to somebody that I bumped into at the airport or something like
right.
that.
Yeah.
Those are just social conventions that are appropriate in those environments. But I'm talking about like if I said something to you that I realize, oh, I meant to hurt John. I meant to do that. And I'm
Mhm.
taking that back. I did it and it's not who I am. And I intend to be kind and loving.
Right. This just happened to me yesterday in group. One of the guys was talking, and I had trouble hearing. There was fans going, and I said, so I was talking to him, and I said, and you mumbled, and it took me about 30 seconds. I go, well, okay, would you be willing to hear me be accountable for what just happened? And he looked at me like, what are you talking about? I said, I just referred to how you speak as mumbling. That was diminishing. I want you to know I want to be accountable for that. That was not okay for me to say that to you. And it was very powerful in watching me as the traditional authority figure humble himself to say, to recognize a behavior that was causing separation and isolation and
Right,
own it. Just right out, own it.
right.
And so,
And how did he respond?
wide eyed. Um, and the guy, uh, appreciative, I want to say appreciative and kind of out of his frame of reference. That's what I mean by wide-eyed.
Right.
Him trying to like figure out what just happened. Another one of the people sitting there said, "That was awesome. That was powerful." So it became a teachable moment.
Right. We had a
Yeah.
similar experience in the recent meeting where the facilitator owned something that he had done, and he did it the way that you said. He said, "Would you be willing to hear me be accountable for my behavior?" And one of the group members said, "It's always great to see when the facilitators are human."
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah. One of the things I tell my clients that are consistent is when I see that, they see me as this superhuman, or I tell them, one day I will disappoint you. I'll fall off my pedestal, and that's okay because I'm human, and they
Right.
get it. I'm
Right.
struggling like they're struggling, and I've assumed the role as facilitator.
Right. You mentioned, we both mentioned groups. So as we come to the end of our time together, I want to invite anybody who's new to consider coming to one of our group meetings. They're open to anybody who chooses. They're all on Zoom. There are 4 of them a week at different times of different days. And information how you can join a meeting will be at the end of the podcast. So please feel free to come and join us. Ask questions about these principles, or what the heck, I don't get this, I'm sorry thing. Um, it's one of our principles
Yeah,
is it doesn't have to make sense. What? So,
but
but we'd love to have you join us and learn the process. Join other people that have been doing this work for a number of months or years, because it changes lives. This has changed my life, and I know this has changed your life. And it's got me to live the life that I truly choose to live every morning when I get up.
yeah,
I just create the day.
yeah. It's that old sign on somebody's fence as you drive down the freeway. Wake up! It's like I'm awake. I see my foibles. I see them clearly, and I'm accountable.
Right.
And I'm not my behaviors. I'm something else.
So with that, we're going to wrap up. So, John, as always, thank you very much. And for those of you who've joined us, thanks for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you at the next one.
Yeah. Thank you, Marty.
Take care.
Yeah.